Back for part two, punters. Just going to review Caulfield before we get into those couple of questions. Race one on Saturday was the 1700 metre benchmark 80. Look, they went very, very fast here, 16.7 lengths above. Came home 5 lengths slow from the 600. And my bet there, So You Swing, was looked like it was going to be right in the finish there on the turn, but it didn't do the job for me, and Extreme Pride was able to win there. Did you have?
I know nothing about this race, but that's bloody quick, and they've run crazy quick time. Holy hell!
Yeah, they've run.
I guess 1700 is probably a bit of a funny distance.
There is enough. I mean, there's no. It's not highlighted, so there's enough pars there.
Okay.
But yeah, I suppose it is, and
still quick, isn't it? It's crazy.
Very quick.
And the margins are there a bit. They're 5, 10, 12 back to last, so they've spread out a bit. So yeah, interesting. Is that? No, it wasn't. It was 3-year-old plus benchmark 80. Okay.
So really well back. So You Swing. But anyway.
So the track there was a bit. Looked like the inside wasn't ideal, like hard inside, was it? But it looked fairly. You could win on pace and you could swoop.
Yeah,
so
I'm going to say it was fair.
Okay.
There was a wind there, headwind there, that was having some effect earlier. But I'm going to say it's fair.
Pretty fair, okay. Yeah, because there were winners come from everywhere from what I saw.
Yeah.
It just like even Savatiano late in the day was sort of sat up on speed and then gapped him and rolled back to the fence. So I'm not saying the fence, that's just to say the fence was any good, but anyway. All right.
Race two there, pretty brazen, lived up to its previous win where it showed an enormous turn of foot to win there. On the provincial circuit.
Huge confidence about this horse, and I was surprised that the sort of price held up. So I wanted SP about 5 to 2. I'm surprised that held up from what I heard. Yeah, you've got 6 to 1, I think.
Right there, and look, I ended up with something on the Splendour of the Grass as well at big odds on the fair.
So they've run 1-2, yeah.
Run 1-2, and also actually back Charlize as well.
You should have backed Tubby 2 Tracks just for the name. Like, what a terrible name that is. What a horrible name. Tubby 2 Tracks. That sounds like something I'd come up with.
But look, I mean, they've run, they've gone along 6.1 above, come home 3.4.
That's obviously going to suit. Yeah,
it was going to suit. So
geez, the times are quick on the day overall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the track actually came out. They went from an official 4 up to a good 3 after 2 races. The median figure is 4.4 on the day.
So how? Okay, I know. I'm just sort of going back, so I'm interrogating you a little bit here. So you're saying they're upgraded to a 3, you've got it at a 4.4, but the times are all really fast on the day.
Yeah. Well, they've been slowed down.
They've already been slowed down.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's as is. So
okay,
they were very fast. I mean, obviously more competition. The wind has had.
No, all I'm kind of pointing at is that say your times say they're quite fast across the board, but you've got the track slower than what they've got it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so first of all, we rely on official times each day when we result.
Yes. Originally,
we internally do a quick clock of 2 to 600, and then from the 600 home.
Yes,
and then we get the verified times in
to trump all that at the end.
So that'll come through most likely tonight.
So this
is an interim.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't expect too much variation.
No. I know. All I'm saying is that the times look fast, but you've got the track slower than what they do, which is kind of, as a person just looking at it, you'd think you'd have the track faster. If you know what I mean, because of the consistency of the fast times across the day.
I think it was a lot of pace related. Times.
Yeah. Oh, they've gone out quick in a lot of these races.
They've gone out quick in most races, and that's set the time up.
Yeah, which would also probably emphasise why the inside may have looked a bit average too. They probably just overdone it a bit.
Yeah.
A lot of those horses.
So race 3, Alabama Express was able to do the job. Unfortunately for me, I was on Hilo, who was attacked in front pretty much the whole way. Look, those 2 horses, they came away from them and ended up winning
1.5, but
about 1.5 or so on the others. Hilo was well backed.
This Airborne's a pretty good horse, I think. It's only probably its 3rd or 4th start in a race. I know it won because I've had a horse in the maiden. It won impressively, then came straight to town and win. It ran 3rd. Hilo's a good horse too. I think it beat Southbank really easily one day when Southbank was coming through after its maiden. So it's all pretty solid form. I think you're a bit stiff to not get the money there. I think Hilo's looked very well placed in that race.
It was a bit frustrating.
And they've run, good time again and set it up front. So yeah, I think these horses. This is a strongish race, just from what I know of them. Whether it be this preparation or going forward further, even into autumn, sort of, I'd be having a good look at this race.
Basically ran about 2.8 lengths faster overall off an almost identical first section between races 2 and 3.
Yep.
Over to 1400. So yeah, there's definitely more quality.
And these are okay. So that was fillies to colts and geldings, isn't it? So. Even though it was a slightly lesser grade, the fillies, I think these are pretty good colts in this, and colts and geldings. I think that the form will hold up. Right.
Yeah, and actually, if you think about it this way, I mean, Streets of Avalon, who we'll talk about in a minute, over to 1400 also in race 8, they've gone out about 2.5 to 3 lengths faster first section, and actually come home
5 slower.
Well, at least 2.5 to 3 slower.
Yeah, okay.
So, in terms of overall time, you would expect Streets of Avalon in the Group 3 to be able to post better time
than
what the Colts and
3-year-olds,
three-year-old Colts and Geldings did.
Yep.
But it wasn't able to. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think that probably...
Yeah, I think... And Airborne, I think, was only first up off a bit of a break. High-low wasn't. But, interesting to keep an eye on those horses. This is an interesting race.
Yeah, well, we saw... I had an opinion of this horse. Thought of that coming off that very easy. I think it was Donald.
It was. I think everyone said it's DF. I was in the DF. So SF, Sydney form, MF, Melbourne form, DF, Donald form.
Well, had it clear favourite ahead of Miami Bound, who I had a bit of a query over the distance. I thought Warning had good talent in the race, but Martin.
Yeah, I think it drew wide. I think it was always going to be ridden conservatively in this race.
And Lyndon Beach just absolutely owned them here in this race, and wow, what a time it ran! And
from a team Shadow Hero perspective, knowing that this horse is probably on its way to the, I got excited when someone told me it was going to the McKinnon, but I'm pretty sure it will be going to the Derby.
You'd think so.
You would think so. So since they put the blinkers on this horse last 2 starts, it's put 7 on a team at Donald, and it's put 3.5 on a team at Caulfield in a Group 3 run time. Did do it off an exceptionally slow time up front. It's built off a solid tempo and accelerated off that. So to the eye, it had a lot of... There was a horse last year, I always get them fixed up. I think it was Thinking Big. Or Just Thinking. I always get them confused, all the horses. Tim rode it. I think it was in this race, so he won this race.
I think I backed Thinking Big in was it the Derby last year?
Yeah, it was, and it won this race. And it did the same thing. So it led and bashed them, and then went to the Derby as a favourite, and sort of got found out. They put a bit more pressure onto it. But this horse gives you the idea, like it's not going. It's obviously absorbed a bit, even though it's had its own way. It's built off a solid tempo, so it's got a bit of substance to it. Definitely this win. From a personal perspective, I hope it doesn't go forward again and peak in the Derby. But you'd have to say off this effort. It's going to run a hell of a race, and I think they're sort of 250, 320 in the betting at the moment. Right. So it's well and truly well found in the Derby. It's no secret, but nothing to say to knock it. And I think Warning's definitely right there as sort of a 3rd, 4th pick in the Derby as well. So this is definitely a serious lead up to the Derby.
Right, we move on to the Alinghi Stakes. Hummer was able to come from behind them. Look, they only went out average tempo here, and both first and last sectionals, fairly little between it. From the 600 home, it was very solid sectionals and had the fastest 4 and 2, I should say, the best 4 and 2 of the day of the winners sectionals.
This horse's turn of foot is incredible.
It really is.
It's just like its first up win. I was lucky enough to find it down when I was down in Melbourne in the 955 metre race, and it's quite difficult for horses, I think, to jump from sort of 955 to 1100 and win. This horse has done that and done it easily. Obviously, the form held up later in the day with, I think, God of Thunder running well behind Miss Leonardis in the Caulfield Sprint. It was the one that ran second to it, that Valley race. So an unusually strong 955 metre Valley race, and this horse has come out and... I actually say, like, it doesn't look like there's any excuses for anything behind it. No. This horse has just out-sprinted them.
It has.
This
Serving was very easy in the market from mid-morning right through to jump time.
Yep.
If you actually go through its Caulfield form, and you try and find excuses for its Caulfield form, even leading into this race.
Yeah.
You had to have some sort of concern.
Negative against it just for that. It's Caulfield, and I can imagine that that's not unusual. Caulfield's a pretty funny track. I find it hard to bet there, to be honest. So I could imagine that some horses do and don't handle it. So Soothing's a bit of a funny horse. Doesn't surprise me. These are horses that tend to take turn a little bit. I think the other horse that's interesting is probably Vinnie Kunka that was in there first up.
Good money for it on course.
And I'd imagine it gets up in trip. So I think 1100 is probably not its go in life. And, your Demararas, Prophet's Thumbs, Soothings, we're all pretty well fancied here. This horse, I can't understand why they keep it to 1100 metres. It's Victory Kingdom. Just looks like a horse that wants 1400 metres and getting up on speed and just keep going, and they just keep it around the sprint trips. But, I'm not knocking the stable. They obviously know the horse better than I do, but I'd be interested if it got to sort of beyond 1200 metres and could get a bit more control. It's only been beaten 2.8 here, even though it was a slowish tempo, but I think it's more a paced on speed horse. So Vinnie Kunka and Victory Kingdom, I think, are interesting behind the winner, who's just airborne.
Yeah, so I had no luck in the next Celestial Falls. For Mark Newnham was just annoyed pretty much for about the first 400 metres of the race.
I don't know why he didn't give it a squeeze.
They didn't go hard, and
no.
Could have easily have.
Well, he could have. I think
easily.
that was the problem. I didn't think he just didn't take control of the race, and that's probably what cost him. He wasn't beaten that far, and it wasn't weak on the line. It was just a bit of a weird race.
I thought it went really well, and that's the horse I backed in the race. And look, Gamay atoned for a wide trip last time against Celestial Falls,
and the fence was probably good that day too. Yeah, for sure. I think these horses are definitely in the Oaks. The Oaks is certainly far more open than the Derby at this stage. And
nothing special in the times here.
No, that's the problem. But I don't think the fillies are that exciting. You know what I mean, from an Oaks perspective, unless sort of a flip or something comes through the Wakeful and then goes on to the Oaks, which I don't think. I think they've sort of been open to say that Flit's unlikely to go there, but I think Tenley as well heads there. If one of those two come out and do something special in the Wakeful, I'm sure they'll take control of betting for the grand final. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Celestial Falls back up in the Wakeful and Oaks as well. So, it might not be. There might be a few horses come out of this race and do that. It just was a bit of an ugly, slow run race, and it's hard to really get a line on them from an Oaks perspective. Is my problem, because the race was so ugly.
Are we recording?
Don't.
Yep, I think so. Okay, so the Caulfield Sprint next.
Please, Jesus Christ.
Miss Leonardis was able to keep going there, and look, it's pretty much
controlled. It was a great ride. I thought. I think it
ride.
Just had it was the ride won the race.
Well done to Stephen Baster, and
it was a really good. He bluffed him out. He just stayed off the fence, controlled the tempo. As like you said, the time was pretty even, and compared to other times on the day, it was pretty average.
Just gave it a good ride.
Yeah, he just gave it a good ride. He got a Thunder around second again. He's just a horse that's hard to find because he just finds a way to get beaten. It probably was hard to come into Miss Leonardis coming off of 50-1 SP or whatever it was behind Danger Street. No, but then you could say now it's easy to find it. Yeah, it's easy to find it now and go, well, why didn't I back it? But I think it was a pretty average. It was a pretty even sprint race. The best ride won. And McLaren missing the start, and I think there was another horse that was sort of on pacer that didn't take part in early in the race, really handed to Miss Leonardis.
So we've got the Monga Stakes, however you pronounce it. Streets of Avalon wins that. They've gone 9 lengths above, come home 5.5 slow, or about a 3.5 overall on track and distance.
Got to be,
in that race. Look, I had Streets of Avalon in there at 9-2. The horse I backed was Variation at double figure odds, who I also had 9-2, ran second.
So you backed the second one but didn't back the winner?
No.
Why? Why did you do that?
No, that was the one I wanted.
Price from second. Yeah, I can see why you did. One was $14, one was $5.
I mean, I could have, I suppose, saved on the winner. I wanted to be against the.
So you've been Soror runner?
Yeah.
I got told it was like half pregnant. That was pretty fat for a horse coming over there. They normally wound up a little bit more when they sort of arrive here, and not to sack him. There was a little bit more left in the tank for Royal Meeting, and a pretty hard run race. Probably it was coming on the line, wasn't it? It wasn't far away. So I wouldn't be sacking in. It was a bit of a funny race. Mossendale I thought went okay, but a weird race where like you could put a line. If you went back through it now and go, well, Royal Meeting wasn't ready to go, get rid of it. Manolo Blahnik struggling, Land of Plenty struggling, Mossendale maybe a little bit outgraded, Tom Melbourne struggling, Terbium struggling, Desert Lord coming back off a smelly run in the Epsom. So, it's just a bit of a smelly race. The time wasn't great.
It is, and the sectionals were
I wouldn't be jumping out of the ground to be following anything out of the race.
Okay, so then we come to the Japanese horse winning the Caulfield Cup, Murder Glass. Look, it did a good job.
So how can do you get any figures into?
No, I ended up putting. I had a couple of opinions on the horse.
Yeah.
I ended up putting it to market. I didn't bet. I didn't back it.
Yeah.
The horse I was with was where is my turn over to the right race was Finch.
Yes. He was the one who dragged them all into the race, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He just doesn't have. Well. It's just he quickens a little bit and then he just whacks, doesn't he? I just think that's really against him.
They've gone 9.5 above. It's that wide no cover the entire trip.
Yeah,
it's got a funny action. I think it's probably better at Flemington.
Yeah, for sure. I just can't see him winning a Melbourne Cup. I know he's like right hard in the betting, but
yeah,
I can see him running top 4 or 5, no problem. But I just I don't know. The winner put him away really quick. I know he came from back and came with one run and then squashed half the field. But
well, I mean, you had a couple of hardish luck stories. I thought Constantinople,
ran well
and had a few excuses.
Ran well for the future too.
The horse that ran really well after being stopped in the strokes, Mr. Quickie.
Mr. Quickie ran well.
But it was coming home, off, as I said, off a very fast, slow pace shape. There was 14 length or 14.
That's right. You'd expect all those horses that was coming into it to be coming into it. Like they hadn't spent much.
It's still done quite well.
I think
Mr. Quickie.
There's form in this race, but knowing which ones were, it's a bit like that Melbourne Cup that the Pirates of Penzance won or whatever. Like there were runs in the race that were good, but there were so many horses inconvenienced and the pace was funny and. It's just a race that's very difficult to work out.
I think some people might have had Gold Mountain there as a chance,
which
I thought was surprising. I marked it 80.
And it was the one I was sort of interested to think, or like what you thought of the fence, because it was back on the inside there and it got beat 4.5, so it didn't get beat up a million miles, but it was pretty average, I
think you need to go over that race quite a bit.
Quite a few, and I know there'll be plenty of conflicting opinions come out of this race on the horse to follow going forward to the Melbourne Cup. And
interesting tweet from Greg Carpenter regarding Caulfield Cup runners of late. I can't remember how many years it was, but you're saying the winner, I don't think, is placed in the Melbourne Cup for X years.
Well, it's interesting to see, like, for such a fast tempo that 15th place was only beaten 5.5. I'd reckon that'd be pretty light on for like beaten margins. The last couple, one was beaten 99 and 7.5. So it's a pretty bunched field considering the winners won by a length. That there's only 3.5 lengths over the next 14 runners. 4.5 lengths. So
pulls back a little bit.
Yeah, it's difficult to work it out. The winner to me looked like he was spent on the line, but he did make a nice run. I don't think he looks like a Melbourne Cup horse, but then the next few did. Vow and Declare, Mirage. I think Vow and Declare's struggling to get in the race, like order of entry wise. Mirage Dancer, yes. Constantinople, yes. Finch, yes. Mustaji, yes. Went well enough. Hartnell, you wouldn't think would go there. You'll go back to McKinnon. Chosen One is a forgive run for sure. Mr. Quickie's a forgive run. So. Does the form come out of this race, or is there superior form coming from left field? I love it when they have a run here, but and that's why this Constantinople's the horse that a lot of people are grabbing onto. The Northern Hemisphere 3-year-old that's had the run here, looked like he's going to lap up the 3200. Drops into a lightweight with the man of the moment, G Boss, going aboard with Luke Nolan getting the up and under. So. Yeah, it's an interesting race for sure. It's the first Caulfield Cup in 1,000 years. I didn't have a bet in, but I just got dragged into the hype of bloody Emperor of Landes' bloody Everest. It's too much for me. I couldn't do both.
Too much. Okay. And Savatiano, I mean,
holy hell,
put him away.
Smashed him. So controlled the race and then smashed him.
I mean, when 3.9
doesn't
below...
this horse look like a jet when it lets, like, when it's in the mood and it finds the right race, it just looks like it could win anything. And this was its day. So So yeah, well, it's turned the tables on its stablemate from last start convincingly, and the SPs have switched, which is quite interesting. So $7, I was surprised to see that the price. Angelic Rule's a bit of a pack chaser. Spanish, they're all very. There's not much between them.
I thought Baccarat Baby might have done a bit more in that race, but
they're very evenly graded mares.
And look, Spanish Whisper went well for a horse that normally goes off very quickly in its prep.
Yeah, okay. So they've worked the secret out. Well, look at the barriers there. 14, 13, 12, 11. That's interesting. That's interesting. I haven't spent much time on that race, but I did see the win, and just the turn of foot that Savatiano showed was just it put everyone away in a 2 strides Group 2 winner.
Right. Okay. So that's Caulfield. Let's deal with these couple of questions. Listen, if you can get your questions into us a bit earlier, that'd be great. That way I don't have to go chasing them on a Monday, and we've got more content. And at the end of the day, we're here to help you. So
I might start sending something out to all the other fellas that I've got just to see if they've got any questions, whatever. Get them answered by both of us might help, because I think it's this thing. It's hard, like you're saying. People don't really think of it, but if you send them something out, they often reply to it. If they've got something there.
That's a good idea, John.
I'll try and get a bit of a backlog of them.
Okay, so Simon's got the first one here. When to back more than one runner in a race? Now, okay, he's got a couple of questions there.
Thoughts of place betting in this market? What does that mean? In this market?
I think it means in the market when you're backing a runner. Anyway, we'll deal with the first one.
Yeah.
When to back more than one runner? When there's enough value, when there's enough reason to suggest that you should. I'm happy to back 5 in a race if the prices are good enough and
like you say, there's a myriad of reasons why you back more than one in a race. There might be.
So yes. I don't want to keep going on about it, but I had it at 11-2, and I had Arcadia Queen 2-1. So Arcadia Queen was always going to carry the biggest bet in dollar terms for me, but I wanted to ensure that I was positioned on yes first, because I saw it as a horse that would likely firm, as I saw Arcadia Queen would firm, but I also thought there might be enough pushback against Arcadia Queen because there was that query over its form in terms of winning the 1300 coming up. Look, in hindsight, I think that it would have been better if they didn't trial it between that run, the 1300 and the 1200 in the average.
There was plenty of reasons I think that went against that horse on that. Like, it's just as much as he got it 100% right with yes and probably with Nature Strip. Things just went a little bit pear-shaped with the mare, unfortunately. So
anyway, in that particular position, I'm getting $13 against a horse I've marked 11-2. So that's good. And I was confident in the assessment. It's not just the fact that I marked it at 650. It's the fact that I couldn't have marked it any longer, in my opinion.
So I often find at target races where there's a short price favourite and that I don't like or something like that, and then
rather than lay it.
Rather than lay it, and I often you end up finding one or two when you've got something that's say even money 2-1, and you've got it much longer than that. Often you'll find value in more than one runner, like your position there. It's similar, or there can be a situation where there's a couple of different ways a race could be run. It's often nice to have something up on speed, and maybe something that's going to be the one that, if there is a swooper, it's it, or something like that. It might
just be a saver. You may not be making the horse a winner like I did with the 3-year-old. But
I would say I back more than one runner 90% of the time I bet in a race.
I'd probably say I back one runner 60 to 70% of the time. And I'm happy to bet up to, as I said, as many runners as I can.
If it's
in the right situation.
If
and I feel that everything's in my favour, pattern and everything else. And,
correct.
And also the confidence that you have in the underlying price. Did I mark this with a query, or did I mark this as a confident assessment? I think that there's different situations. Thoughts on place betting in this market? Now, that's a bit hard for us to answer, I suppose, because we don't really know what you're saying, Simon. But place betting, I don't do a lot of place betting. I have a general rule that if I can get the place, if I can get the dividend for the place equal to that of my win, I definitely bet.
So win price. So say you've got it 5-2 and it's 5-2 the place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then you bet. So I think that's a great way to bet.
And I'm probably betting roughly 1x3, 1x4, 1x5 even.
See, that is something I definitely use. Say you find a horse, like even if it's only $10 and I've got it marked sort of 5-2 or something like that, and you're getting like 2-1 the place or something, like anything close. Yeah, no, I'll
And
yeah,
it's,
one
and,
by
it's,
two
and
or
it might
something
be an on-pace horse, and the patterns
That's
certainly
right.
not hurting those horses, and it's
Yeah.
going to get a good run and a good map and all those sort of things.
You're mad not to.
You're going to capitalise on it.
Yeah.
But I would say that the percentage of my place bets to win bets is probably only 5% win place, I'd say.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I would be similar. I would say I'd much rather back two in a race than. It's a weird situation. I'll back each way more than I'll bet place only. And like you said, it's often might be 1/4 when it is a place bet because you think you're just getting so much value out of the place side of things.
And when they don't run the hole, you hurt.
Yeah, especially each way. It's a funny system. But anyway, place betting is much different too now.
Get true each way on.
Yeah, if you could get on at the price that sports bet and I think it's better easy bet the place consistently early, especially when they make their mistakes, that'd be a loss to money. But like places like Top Sport and that seem to be the easier places to get set for something, are far more aware of their place betting odds. So I think say that sports better be 320, often Top Sport will be 260 or something like. It's a massive difference.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
Okay, so hopefully we've answered that, Simon. Now Rick emailed you, John, and wants us to.
So on the last show, John, you rated the benchmark 88 race won by Senior Fox on 5th of October. I just had to get it up as a high quality almost group race. I noted that Handle the Truth was favourite for the race, but was held up in the run. Thanks to you, I backed in the Kosciuszko as a result. My question is, how do you recognise a race's high quality form race, or otherwise, what factors apart from times margins do you take into account? So obviously, times, margins, and those
SPs.
things. Yeah, SPs they're important in this race. And why I identified this race was there's a lot of horses that were not targeting this race in particular. So this was a kick-off point to bigger and better things.
This was an 88, right?
Yeah, so it's bigger and better things. And I didn't look up how the race did rate or anything like that. But when sort of going through the form, Senior Fox, Rillamin Ruby, Outrageous, which I thought was the best run in the race. Bow Idea was the one that I remember saying, well, probably this is the one. He's the one that's about his level, maybe. Handle the Truth obviously wasn't there. I'm not saying he wasn't there to win, but that wasn't his goal. Star Boy's come out of that race as well. He's run 4th in that race, so it did work out to be strong. Miss Fabulous, Row here, and like these horses are really strong Saturday, at least horses, if not
maybe
progressing on to black type. So the top end, I think,
and Senior Fox probably wasn't even. We were all going into the race thinking it might need the run.
Well, because it was 1200. So say it's been proven to 1200-ish. You'd think 1200 first up was going to max him out, especially with a bit of a weight and a wide gate.
And
he had it against him, and he did a good job. And that was. And Reelamin Ruby, I think, goes to the Nivison this week. I'm sure Outrageous will pop up somewhere soon. Obviously, you've seen Handle the Boy and Star Truth, and they've run well. So, to answer your question, it's just a bit of foresight. These horses are horses that have popped up on my radar along the way as horses that are really progressive, and this was their kick-off point. And then you had the horses that, like you Handle the Truth behind, that were more exposed, but this wasn't their grand final. So it was a blend race, is probably the best way to put it, where horses, none of them really targeting this race, but you wanted to take notice of everything they did here because they were going somewhere else.
You sort of profiled the race based on the horses that were in it.
That's right. And even if I don't even really want it to be a super high rating race because that might have hurt them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This was definitely not their grand final, but it was a platform race. So I really want to go back through these sorts of races, especially at this time in carnivals, trying to identify where I think they will go and how they're going. So I think it'll all stand up. It's a good point that these Handle the Truth and Starboy, even though it was Kosciuszko, time was good. Everything was good to say that horses like Reelamin Ruby, Senior Fox.
We said that Handle the Truth ran better than Deprive as far as
time
goes.
times come. And obviously Deprive was exceptional. But,
In terms of overall.
I'm saying probably Miss Fabulous as well. That Miss Fabulous, Outrageous, Rillamin Ruby, Senior Fox can go to similar races of higher quality than this and run well out of it. How did I identify it? It's a bit of a personal. I'm not saying I'm not giving you the secret. It's just that these are horses that I tend to have been keeping an eye on for this springtime, and they all popped up in a similar lead-up race, which happens quite a lot because there aren't too many options this time of year for these horses to kick off in. So you often get races like this that are super strong. And they end up in races like carbine clubs and things like that. You know what I mean? Like, they don't go to Group 1s, obviously, usually, but they end up, they pick off, they're looking to pick off listed Group 3s, and that's where you can if you can find the right races, that they can be sort of beaten for 3 and 4 in these races and pop up. So yeah.
For me, it's all about obviously the figures, the rating. I essentially rate every race, every TAB race in Australia, but I'm not rating the runners. I'm just rating the race quality, and that's obviously a big part of that is what time they run, the sectionals, the way in which they run it, the margin spread, the SPs, and then I obviously take a detailed look at the individual splits and sections for each horse, and I use that in conjunction with my numbers to essentially, I suppose, compile black book horses.
So you're looking for these sort of races all year round, whereas I just identify this as a race that looks like a feeder race to other probably higher grade races. But like there's a maiden at Newcastle. I should know the name of the horse. He come out one straight in town. Tim rode it. One of Snowden's. Can I think of a horse that ran behind it? Rock and Rose is, I think, the only horse that's got beat. Some of these slow run, fast home maidens and things like that can end up really good feeder races.
It's not just about the
and that's what you're saying. Like you're not looking at just the overall time. I can't remember the name of that horse for the life of me, but Rock and Rose ran second to it in a maiden at Newcastle, and it's come out. There's been like 5 or 6 winners out of it. Exceptionally slowly run race with really great merit in the last sort of 400. There's plenty of ways to identify good feeder races. You just got to think outside the square a little bit and keep an eye on it, and understand what pace does and what you want to see from particular horses to want to follow them out of them. So slowly run races, obviously, stronger they are late, the probably more they are affected by slow tempos. Fast run the opposite. There's plenty of ways to identify good races. This was just a little bit different, a little bit more personal. I don't think, like you say, like you wouldn't find this race and say, that's a race I want to follow the first 8 out of. But I'm looking at it
for me,
from sideways a bit.
The bivouac yes form.
That's right.
From a 3-year-old point of view, it was probably the best 3-year-old form I've seen in several years.
Yes, and then you combine that with ordinary weight for age form. And like my idea with the Everest was that the Redzel form, for argument's sake, that lead-up form, the standard lead-up form was pretty average.
Yeah.
So there was a gap there for your
and
Santa Ana
Redzel had every
Arcadia Queens. It did, and Arcadia Queens. Piorata was probably the one horse that looked like he'd come back a little bit better, but then you even tied in
He was tied to those others.
Yeah, he was, and that was what dragged him back enough, combined with the inside gate, to say, well, if he beats me, too good. You know what I mean? That's why you would have always thought that he was going to get out in the market too. But
well, I mean, I
know what you're saying. Like,
Piorata 10-1.
And the beauty of a race, what you want, like what you're saying with yes, coming out a super strong 3-year-old grade, a different parallel form line to the weight for age form lines.
At weight for age,
and you were getting 10-1 to find out. You weren't getting 6-4 or something. You know what I mean? So it's really exciting when you identify a strong form line and it jumps back into something you think might be a bit vulnerable. It's the ultimate thing, like it's the ultimate setup really to want to have a shot at the title. So
okay, so that's all right for this week. Now next Monday I think we're okay, but the Monday after we won't. John and I will both.
I'll be down there, so I'm not saying we'll do a show from there or something. We'll try and put something together, even if it's just talking about. I think it's Melbourne Cup week. I don't know if we might even if it's you or me or something. Yeah, I don't know. We might do something. Might put something together if we can. Cox Plate this week. They tell me this Japanese horse is just a freak. I looked at his form. It's like it only had 2 or 3 wins or 4 wins or something in 12 placings. It's a bit of a perennial place getter, but they do say this horse goes extremely well, and it's like only bad luck will beat it in the Cox Plate. And again, it's running into Eurovilius' Blackheart Barts. It just looks a good year for a parallel form line after the spit all over the table. Parallel form line to jump in and really dominate, but it is sort of $3.50 favourite, unfortunately, now. I think there's nothing too else exciting this week, is there?
To be honest, I haven't.
No, Cox Plate's about it for me, and then sort of Derby Day next week. Yeah, well, that's it. Tomorrow, what day is it? Monday.
Today's Monday. So that's all for us this
guys.
week. John, racingwatch.com.au. They can find you if they're interested in country and provincial selections, mainly
these days,
for New South Wales. And
Twitter.
Of course, ratingstowin.com.au if you want to talk to me about anything to do
software.
with Access software or whatever. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Bye.